Hello, beautiful people. Here I am with a very special cosmic climate for Mercury retrograde in Capricorn and Sagittarius. So, I've been talking about this cycle bit by bit in the cosmic climates, and I wanted to devote a short video on what we can expect for this retrograde cycle and how to connect with it and integrate it within our daily lives and our ritual practice. So, the best way to really draw down this energy or bring it back into practical means and practice is to refer to your birth chart to see what areas of life are ruled by Capricorn and Sagittarius. And that will give you an understanding of where, or some insight of where this cycle is primarily going to be reflected within your own life. And so Mercury stationed retrograde on December 13th at 2:09 a.m. Eastern time. I'm recording this on December 13th, right? Same day, but at 1:16 p.m. Eastern time. So we are fresh into the Mercury retrograde energy. And when I say station retrograde or even station direct, that essentially means that the planet is beginning or ending its retrograde cycle. So station retrograde is beginning, stationing direct is ending. And essentially that means the planet is standing still energetically and it's going to change orientation, right? And so at these moments of when a planet is stationed, either retrograde or direct, is a very powerful moment. It is that planet holding its power and holding its intention for what is to come or what has come as a result of this retrograde cycle. And so definitely pay attention to what is coming up for you or what has come up within that time. So as I am, recording this on December 13th, the day that Mercury stations retrograde, therefore beginning its retrograde cycle, I personally am paying attention to what has come up for me, the day before the retrograde cycle, the day of and the day after, or even you can expand that window of time as much as you want to, but this is a very significant time. You also want to look to your birth chart to see what areas of life are ruled in this case by Capricorn and Sagittarius. So Mercury will begin its retrograde cycle in Capricorn and will end its retrograde cycle in Sagittarius. With Mercury retrogrades, generally within the time frame of a year or so, the Mercury retrograde cycles will happen in one element, like the signs that correspond to one element. So in the case of 2023, the Mercury retrogrades have all been in earth signs. So it's been in Capricorn, Virgo, and Taurus. And in 2024, we're actually going to experience transition from the earth element to the fire elements, right? So we're going from the element of earth to the element of fire. And so I invite you to sit with what those elements mean to you or how you connect with those elements, looking to your birth chart to get an understanding of, what areas of life correspond to or are ruled by the earth signs as well as the fire signs. And even more so, do you have any planets in those elements? So for myself, I have a ton of planets in Capricorn. I have my North Node in Taurus and my midheaven in Virgo. So these are all important placements, right? And so I definitely felt the energy of these Mercury retrogrades, right? And I'll talk about what Mercury retrograde means and, Mercury's intention or virtues in general, right? And so the areas of life that the earth signs rule for me is communication, networking, and learning. And then also relationships, one-on-one connections, agreements, contracts, things of that nature. And then social groups, social networks, friends, allies, groups that basically have like-minded goals and intentions. So the earth signs rule. When you think about that triad, right? And the triad is that creative energy, right? The creative connection. So all the signs that share the same elements, they have a creative connection. They are harmonious with one another or each other, and they are very beneficial and supportive and creative with each other's, intentions or goals or qualities. And so with my earth signs, they ruled, as I said, the third, or I didn't say exactly what house, but the third, the seventh, and the 11th houses, right? And so those are all social areas of life. And so for myself, the Mercury retrogrades that were in earth signs were all pertaining or reflected within those parts of my chart of being connecting and engaging with, like-minded groups or learning, or what I spoke about, right? So you want to look at the earth signs in your birth chart and get an understanding of those areas of life and how they connect and work together. And so with the earth element is focused on foundation, creation, building, bringing energies into form, and just creating some sort of structure and system so that things can have a strong foundation and really anchor itself within this physical reality, right? And so I can get into the depths of what each of the earth signs mean, but I'm not going to go there, right? I will do that for Capricorn. And so taking that into consideration, right, those are the areas of life, or those particular qualities of the earth element, we're all going through some sort of reflection and review, therefore being able to refine and revise those parts of your life, if that makes sense, right? And so with this transition from earth to fire, now we are, in this case with the fire signs, bringing all of that to a close. We are hopefully really just fine tuning the foundation, the system, the structure, so that now with the fire element, we can begin to create from that solid foundation, from those solid values, from what it is that we have been, the platform that we have been creating, right? To therefore spark our ideas into form, right? And so in this particular case with Capricorn is essentially, it's an earth sign, right? And it's what I was getting here within. So firstly, let me just back it up here, because now I'm like, so many things are going on in my mind. I do want to say that we had a Mercury retrograde in Capricorn in December of 2022, right? Did I write the dates down? I didn't write them here. Let me see if I have them right here. Because naturally I have to know. So I didn't even write them here, but nonetheless, that's totally okay. But Mercury retrograde, basically, I know it ended its retrograde cycle on January 1st, right? So Mercury tends to retrograde for a couple weeks, like I think it's 2.5, 3 weeks possibly. So just think about the mid December, or even the whole month of December if you want to, because we can include the shadow period, into the first like week or so into January, of going from 2022, December 2022 into January of 2023. What was coming up for you in reference to the Capricorn part of your life, in reference to connecting and communicating and perceiving information, giving information, that energy exchange? Where were you and what was coming up for you during that time? And so here we are in December, a year later, December of 2023, with another, you could say, final Mercury retrograde in Capricorn for some time, right? And so this Capricorn part of the Mercury retrograde cycle is pretty much bringing closure to what was coming up in December, the end of December, or the month of December and early January, right? 2022 into 2023. And so this is the point where we're really just fine tuning, right, what was coming forth. And this is going to be happening with the other earth elements, as there will be a transition from those particular elements. I think one of them is going to be from Virgo into Leo, which is going to be a retrograde cycle. And so we are essentially fine tuning and putting things into place. Right. And so in the case of Capricorn's retrograde cycle in general, what I wrote here is restructure and foundation, right? And so Capricorn essentially is the container in a way, right? So I feel the earth elements I feel Capricorn is more so the container. Taurus is the actual foundation, right? And with Virgo, it's like the pieces that you put into place to bring everything together, right? To make this structure whole, or to really enable the system to work efficiently and effectively. That's kind of Virgo's role, right? And so with Capricorn and Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, what is left to be restructured at this time in regard to this Capricorn part of your life, right? This is the point in which we are mastering discipline to bring our ideas into some sort of action, right? To cultivate inspired action. But we want to, first, with the first part of this Mercury retrograde, we really just want to fine tune the boundaries, right? And also, we're being invited to expand the boundaries, which I'll explain that in a bit here. But we want to fine tune our container and our boundaries. And so I think first I should share what Mercury's virtues are in general. And this is to really, really keep it short and sweet. If I had to sum it up with a few words, Mercury's virtues or intentions is to connect and to communicate, to exchange energy, whether it be information, whether it be words, whether it be vibration. It's an exchange of energy, the give and receive, right? If we think about Mercury as far as like the mythological archetype of Mercury, it is the messenger, right? And so it's the one God that can go in between like worlds, right? It goes in the underworld, it goes, in the I want to say the upper world, but the main the main world, the heavens, right? It can really penetrate these different boundaries, right? And even astronomically speaking, Mercury is super close to the sun, and it's able to really go in places that other planets cannot go, right? And it has a really fast orbit, right? So it's fast moving, it's quick energy, and it's connecting and communicating. As you know, we tend to have 3 to 4 Mercury retrograde cycles, in a year. And so Mercury's main virtue or intention is to connect and to communicate and to share or exchange energy, right? So that comes through, of course, as thoughts and ideas. And you can even talk about how thoughts create things, right? Create reality. And so with that within itself, it to me makes sense why we would even experience Mercury retrogrades as much as we do, or the fact of how fast Mercury moves and how it corresponds to our mind and our thoughts and information and how that's exchanged. So again, bringing it back to its connection or the retrograde cycle in Capricorn, that is getting an understanding or fine tuning the structure in which you connect, in which you communicate, the boundaries that you hold, right? The discernment when it comes to what it is that you're sharing, what it is that you're taking in, and being able to master discipline and upholding those boundaries, right? The container. And so what's really important about this particular retrograde cycle is that Mercury will make a trine to Jupiter 3 times. So it already made a trine to Jupiter back on December 7th. It will make and it was Jupiter was retrograde at that time. And then it will make a second trine to Jupiter on December 18th, where both planets will be retrograde, right? Mercury and Jupiter. Actually, you know what? Let me check. Jupiter might not be retrograde then. let's see, because I know Jupiter ends its retrograde cycle, but let's see. Oh yeah, it'll still be retrograde. So yeah, both planets are retrograde on December 18th, and then January 19th, Mercury will make its third and final trine in this period, right, to Jupiter, which both planets are going to be moving in direct motion, right? And so this tends to happen sometimes with retrograde cycles where it will have a connection with another planet 3 times. So it's in its shadow periods, either before or after the retrograde cycle, and then while it's retrograde. And this is always a very significant connection that you want to pay attention to. And it adds to the theme of that retrograde cycle and the focus, right, for what is coming up. And so Mercury, again, that is connection in communication or energy exchange, I like better. And with Jupiter, Jupiter is expansion and comprehension, right? So that deep understanding, that level of comprehension where it just clicks, that aha moment, that download, that insight is what will lead to expansion. And so you can say that Mercury even corresponds to the earthly intellect, like the mind, the logical, rational mind. And Jupiter corresponds to the bigger mind, the greater mind, the broader perspective, the connections to even, the divine mind, in the sense of just that expanded consciousness and connection to deep comprehension. And so when these two come together, and they're coming together in a trine, and again, this trine is the earth energy, right? They have this creative connection, Mercury being in Capricorn and Jupiter being in Taurus, where they're coming together. And this is essential to these Mercury retrogrades completing in the earth elements when it comes to creating the solid foundation, and then the container, right? The structure of the space, right? The bones of what it is that you are working with right now, or what it is that you're intending. And so I want to give an example of this, because like I can think of it in a physical way, right? But okay, so let me think of my chart where I have Capricorn ruling the third house, which is communications, learning, literally energy exchange, local environment. So many things that you can throw in there. What I will say is really big for me actually is traditional correspondence, or to the third house, is the rituals to the goddess, like the moon having its joy in this particular house. And I personally have the moon in Capricorn in the third house. And so this year there has been, and also I'll say that this third house is also activated for me through annual perfection. So this area of life is already like, it's got literally the spotlight on it, right? And so this year for me, I have been deeply connecting with the cycle of the moon, the 28 days, doing 28-day rituals, doing 28-day dream practices, and also connecting with the cycles and the phases of the moon within my cosmic climates. You've seen that I've been focusing more and more on the lunar cycles as opposed to the solar cycles. And I didn't do this on purpose. This kind of just happened, right? And so that is the part of my chart where Capricorn rules, right? And so where Taurus rules for me is relationships, is one-on-one interactions, intimate relationships, whether it be with lovers, family, friends, clients, is those one-on-one interactions and agreements, right? And so when it comes to Jupiter, and Jupiter being in Taurus, right, that's expansion and comprehension. That for me has been coming up as I've been really connecting more directly one-on-one, and I've been going like deeper with it, right? And I've been expanding what I even perceive and comprehend of what healthy relationships looks like, right? And so in the case of these two areas of life, these two elements, right, just to give you an understanding how this creative connection can come together, right? So with the Mercury retrogrades, right? And then we also have Jupiter retrograde there. But with the refinement, the reflection, and the revision of these two areas, right? Within the Taurus part, that foundation, the core foundation of what Taurus really, its virtue and intention is to create a core foundation, is through our values, through self-love and nurture, right? So what I've been navigating is feeling my own independence or self-love within relationships, feeling my own power. So what's valuable to me, that self-worth within relationships, that's key. And on this side here with the Capricorn, this is the structure, right? So a way that they've been working together is essentially, I've been doing 28-day practices and rituals that enhance and support my comprehension or expansion of the values that I hold for myself and self-worth. And it's been a whole journey and it ain't over yet. And so that's one of the ways that they have been creatively connecting with one another. And so again, I encourage you to look at these two areas of life within your chart. And I will actually put in the description of this video a link to, and you're going to have to sign up for my email list to get this download, right? But it's going to be the areas of life PDF for, actually, maybe you won't have to sign up for my email list, but anyways, it'll be my own document of the areas of life, like what they mean. And so look at these areas of life, look at the sign, find the signs that rule the areas and see what they mean, right? And what's coming up for you. And so I just want to give you an example, but this connection between Capricorn and Taurus and Mercury and Jupiter, the trine, the creative, friendship, harmonious connection of these two is really significant to this Mercury retrograde. So I want to just sum that up again, just to make it very clear and straightforward. So let me speak with the intention of Mercury and Mercury retrograde. So the virtue and intention of Mercury is essentially to connect and to communicate, to share energy, an energy exchange. So the give and receive. That is the virtue, the core virtue and intention of Mercury. With Mercury retrograde cycles, in general, what we're doing what's presented during this retrograde cycle is reflection, review, revision, and refinement of different areas of our life in reference to how we connect and communicate, how we engage and exchange energy within the context of those areas of our life that are active, right? So we're reviewing, we're reflecting on that. And then once we review and we reflect, we revise and refine, right? And rebuild, you can even say. And so that is Mercury's intention and Mercury retrograde, intention in general. And so with Capricorn, just to bring that into play, Capricorn as an archetype is, and I'll keep it short, its energy or virtue or intention is essentially to create a structure that is safe, that is nurturing and supportive for evolution, right? That basically creating a safe space, creating safe structure so that things can build and grow and be efficient and successful. That's Capricorn. And being that I'm talking about Taurus, might as well bring Taurus in the mix too. So Taurus is essentially, its virtue and intention is it desires, right? Its intention is to create personal security and safety, right? And also, personal security, safety, and just getting our needs met. That is the intention and the focus and the drive of Taurus. And so the way we do that within the nature of Taurus is, first, it starts with self-love and self-care and that vibration that you hold within yourself, right? So your values, knowing your worth, and knowing that when you feel that you deserve or you're worthy, say, of clean food, clean air, clean water, and you really feel that and hold that vibration, you will then receive clean food, clean air, clean water, right? But if you don't, if you feel like you're asking for too much, if you feel like, you're always poor, or it's like this world is, like depleted and such, right? The opposite mindset of abundance, then you're going to receive that, right? So it's based on your self-worth, your self-love is your solid foundation of how you will grow and expand and how safe you feel. So with Capricorn and Taurus coming together, these are both earth elements. So they build off one another. And if you want to throw Virgo into the mix, that is essentially the filling in the blanks, almost the in between. It's like, what is going to be supportive? What is going to be nurturing and helpful to the foundation? Oops. So feeling that self-worth and knowing your values, what's going to be supportive to that, what's going to be nourishing. And then also with the structure, like creating the safety, right? What is going to be supportive to the boundaries of this space, of this container? Like, how do I fill this in, right? And so that's how these earth energies are working together. So that's something you want to keep in mind for this first part of the Mercury retrograde cycle. And so then, let's see, let me make sure I got everything here. Yeah. And so with Mercury and Jupiter coming together, we have like that earthly, physical, logical mindset coming together with that divine intelligence, that deep or higher consciousness or comprehension. So those are coming together in that creative connection. And that coming together is an invitation, or just naturally will lead to expanding the boundaries, right, of what is possible, what you are capable of achieving in these particular areas of life, in your expansion and self-transformation in these areas of life. And so Mercury will, as it's going backwards, right, and it's really refining and putting all the little bits into place in these particular areas of life. And I encourage you always to journal and just reflect on your journal. So that kind of helps you get clear and gives you a good set point or baseline of where you are now in completion of the earthly energies. And then now you can begin to direct your focus on the fire aspect of this. And so Mercury will move into Sagittarius, Mercury retrograde, on December 23rd. And which is interesting because the moon will be in Taurus. I like that. But anyways, I'm not even going to go there because I haven't gone there and I don't want to take up time trying to connect with that. But yeah, Mercury retrograde will move back into Sagittarius on the 23rd, and it will station direct. I'm going to pull out this other one. I'll get into that though, but let me just talk about Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, the 23rd. Actually, I should look to see, should have had this noted. So, and Mercury will station direct on January 1st again. Wow. That's really interesting because Mercury stationed direct January 1st of 2023 as well. So very, very interesting, right? So from the 23rd of December until the beginning of the year, the 1st of 2024, Mercury retrograde will be in Sagittarius. So we're transitioning from earth to fire. And so the element of fire, when I think about the element of fire, this is that creative spark, this connection to divine source, to your inner fire, into creative energy and creative power, right? So that we can bring the intentions and ideas into, like, there's an inspired action to bring this into form, right? So that's the next step, is cultivating that inspired action, that creative power, cultivating it and generating it. And so with Sagittarius essentially is it's the Archer, and how I perceive, and the reason why I bring up the Archer is because there's this, I was going to say search for direction, but it's like, what is, because when I connect with, I have a lot of Sagittarius people in my life, and they are not always the masters of following the path directly. Like, they're on their path, but it's like, and they're probably actually doing it right, where they're just free spirit, right? That's the thing, being free. And while it's like they kind of deviate from that systematic approach of Capricorn, say, and they just go with the flow and they follow their inspiration. It's like, a lot of, I know I'm thinking of two of my friends, or actually three now, where it's just like they are never, like, they're never working, right? Or they work, but it's like they live interesting lives, right? And I'm thinking of other ones where they work and but they have really interesting careers. Like, their jobs create a lot of flexibility. Even like one, I'm thinking of professor, a photography professor, and just the nature of the curriculum that he presents tends to change every semester. So, how some professors or teachers, to make things easier, it's like, okay, this is the lesson plan. So this is what, I'm going to focus this process bit by bit by bit, or I have the outline. He changes it every time, supposedly. So I think that's really Sagittarius for sure, right? But the key is that free spirit energy is really like following your inspiration, following what lights you up, following that feeling or that moment of inspired action, acting from inspiration, right? And so this is what's going to bring the ideas, or really sustain the container and the foundation. This is what's going to bring things into form. And it's really interesting going from fire, the most, I'm sorry, going from earth, the most the most grounded sign, the most fixed sign, to, or I'm sorry, fixed element, to fire, which is like hard to contain and control, right? At times, that, I mean, the ability to control fire, to master fire, is like a thing, right? So it's really interesting of going through something that's absolutely solid to something that's like hard to like contain, right? And also it's like we can generate it and keep it going and get it going, but can we sustain it? Nonetheless, with this particular Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, what I'm getting a sense of is that this is with again bringing us back to the core intention of Mercury, which is to connect and to communicate, and to exchange energy. What I'm really picking up with is what I've been talking about, as far as connecting with your inner being, connecting to your divine intelligence, your source within, being intimate with that, connecting with that, and learning how to be in alignment, to listen. That's one of the things too with that energy exchange, right? So we are always putting out our desires and what it is that we want, but then do we connect and listen to the guidance from our divine intelligence within, right? That is the second part. So we have that give and receive, right? The exchange of energy. And so with this particular Mercury retrograde cycle, that is what I am perceiving as what will be a focus, right? Of how we listen and connect with our inner being, with our inner guidance, how we learn to allow that to guide us and sustain. And soon, I feel with Leo, it's going to be more so, that Leo Mercury retrograde is going to be more so how do we sustain that fire, that inspired action, that ability to, just really be within our creative power, right? So in this case, we're first learning how to connect with the creative fire within us, how to listen, how to engage and exchange the energy. So that's what I'm feeling with that specifically. And yeah, again, look to what you have ruled by Sagittarius in your chart. You can start to get like a peek at the Mercury retrograde cycles for the year, if you want to look at the earth or the fire signs within your birth chart to get that understanding and what areas of life are ruled by that. And also what planets do you have in those fire signs? For me, the only planet I have in a fire sign is Uranus and Sagittarius, and Uranus is one of those outer planets. Luckily, I guess, since it's conjunct my lot of fortune, then it's definitely relevant. I definitely feel Uranus in my life. And so I'm sure I'll be connecting with that here with this Mercury retrograde cycle. But thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Please share this if you feel someone will love or feel inspired or just enjoy this particular video. Thank you so much for your subscriptions. I love to hear your viewpoints and perspective and experiences in the comments. And I always, don't want to go at the end of these videos, but I'll let you guys go and I'll talk to you in the next one.